Hey mamas, this is Playfully Faithful Parenting, and I'm your host, Joy Wendling. I'm a seminary grad and children's and family minister turned stay-at-home mom to my 5 girls. Spiritual parenting is my calling, and it's my passion to help other mamas disciple their kids using the power of play and their own authentic daily walk with Christ. If you're a mama who wants to introduce your kids to Jesus and watch as the Holy Spirit transforms their lives, this is the place for you. I'm so glad you're here. So let's dive in and see how we can partner with God today. Hey mamas, I'm here for Theology Thursday, and I love this verse that I'm going to talk about today. It is 3 John 1:4. And so this is 3 John, so it's written by John, and it is to his friend Gaius, and it says, I could have no greater joy than to hear that my children are following the truth. So he wants to know, to hear that his children are following the truth. And for John, he is describing his spiritual children. However, it is a perfectly healthy way for Christian parents to take this verse on for their own biological or adopted children as well. So it can be for your real children. It can also be for your spiritual children. And commentaries would agree with that. It's not a far stretch to say that this is something we can claim for our own kids. So it's, for me, when I think about goals for my kids, I would love to know that my children are walking in the truth. Walking is the verb used in a lot of the translations. I have the NLT in front of me today, and that one says following the truth, which works just as well. But here is the thing. So a lot of parents say for when their kids grow up, I just want them to be happy. And that is fine. But for me, as a Christian parent, happy is not enough. And I know my kids aren't always going to be happy. And life is painful and it's broken and it's full of sinful people that will hurt my kids. And in those moments, I want to know that they are following the truth. And the truth is Jesus. And following is an active pursuit. And that they don't just know who Jesus is, but they are living in a way that displays that brings them joy, that brings them comfort, that brings them peace, that produces good fruit in their life. And so for me, if my kids are happy, that's awesome someday, but I could have no greater joy than to hear that my children are following the truth, actively pursuing and living out a life for Christ. And I think for Christian parents, that is what we want. Now, here's the trouble with that, is that is my kids' responsibility. That is their decision. It is not something I can control. That is between my kids and the Holy Spirit. And all I can do is set Jesus up to be in my kids' life so that they have an accurate picture of who he is and what it means to follow him, and set him up in a way that is so honest that he is enticing, he is desirable, he is they can't resist him, right? because that is who he is. But when we present him in a way that is legalistic or even boring, that is not an irresistible person to follow. That is not a life of abundance. And when we set them up to be afraid, not in awe, but afraid of him, afraid of breaking laws, afraid of breaking the rules, afraid of not being capable of glorifying him, then we do our kids a disservice, and we're not setting them up to have this relationship with Jesus that is possible. And so for me as a parent, when I think about Christian parenting, my job is to present Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, his word in a way that is truthful, in a way that is full, in a way that is full of life and abundance, and to show that it is a life worth living, and that it is a life that brings peace and comfort and protection when the world gets scary and shows its darkness and brokenness. And it is a place that is safe, that never changes, that Jesus will always be there for them, that no matter what is happening around them, when they're happy and when they're not happy, that Jesus is the same, and that God has been at work in their lives from the moment he placed them in my belly, and just that they know that their life was created with intentionality and purpose, and that is to glorify God, to use the gifts he's given them to love others, to serve others, to glorify and worship him. And that is what I want to hear someday, that my kids are following the truth. And it may not be a straight line. And I pray that it is always an upward moving trajectory, but it is going to have peaks and it is going to have valleys. It is going to be a roller coaster. It is not going to be smooth. It already hasn't been. And there's just been 9 years of my oldest's life. It's not going to be smooth, but my job and my hope is that I can show them who he is in all his fullness, and so that he is not a surprise to them. When I became a Christian, I was 7 years old, and I gave my life to Christ at an Awanas meeting when I was 7. I'd known Jesus the whole time before, and I was raised in that culture. But then in college, I was introduced to a different Jesus, not different, a more full Jesus. And I began to hear that he wanted to not just spend Sunday mornings and Sunday nights with me at church, but that he wanted to live my life with me. And he wanted me to live a life for him, where he was a part of it all the time. And that was a surprise to me. And I felt cheated out of having this amazing man and God and friend in my life every day. In those middle school years when I could have used a constant friend, in those high school years when I felt like an outsider because I was making healthier choices than other people around me. And I could have used Jesus. And I don't want my kids to look back and say, I never knew that Jesus that wanted an intimate relationship with me every day. I never knew him. No one ever introduced me to him until such and such year. And so that is my goal for myself in this, so that someday looking on my time with them and my teaching of Jesus to them and living with Jesus in front of them, that they will still be desiring to follow Jesus and be with him, and know that he's been there every step of the way, and that they've experienced him throughout it all. And so that is 3 John 1:4. I could have no greater joy than to hear that my children are following the truth. And again, this also goes for those that we have the opportunity to disciple outside of our own homes. And so just use this verse as guidance, as a prayer, as a hope, as something to hold on to. If you have older kids who have hit rough times, who aren't happy, who are experiencing struggles, use this to hold on to. Are they following the truth? Do they know the truth? And so, mamas, this is one of my favorite verses. It's actually on my phone, the backdrop, the wallpaper on my phone. So if you have thoughts on this verse, head over to Instagram or to the Facebook group, Christian Motherhood with Purpose and Play, and share with me your thoughts on this verse. And is it a verse that you've heard of before? I didn't hear about it until, I've read it, but it didn't really stick out to me until just in the last 2 years. So it's one that I've read and never really, struck my heart until last year, I think, somewhere in the last year. And so I want to know, what do you know about this verse? What do you feel about this verse? What hope does this verse inspire in you? And what are your goals for 20 years down the road when you're looking at your kids' life and your role in their lives? Is your kid being happy enough for you? Or is there greater joy out there for both you and for your kids by knowing that your children are following the truth? So mamas, have a great Thursday or whatever day you're listening to this on, and go play, have some fun for yourself, enjoy Jesus. And on behalf of God, thank you for loving and playing with his kids. Bye, mamas. Well, mamas, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Playfully Faithful Parenting. I'd love to keep the conversation going over on the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you felt encouraged or equipped by today's show, do me a favor and leave a review. I can't wait to hear your story. Till next week, keep playing and pointing those littles to Christ.